This video's made for adult collectors because, ooh, there's leftover pizza in the fridge.
Bro out here trying to style on the rest of them. Get out of here. Honestly, it's really cool having all 13 of them finally. This is super cool. Some of them are great, some of them aren't great, but you know, it's neat. But we're here to talk about this stupid idiot right up here.
Nexus Prime. This thing stirred up a lot of, well, everything online. He looks cool, he looks bland, his jet mode is neat, his jet mode looks weird, how does he combine? That's not how I wanted this to work, and so on, were a lot of the reactions I saw when he got revealed. Like, a lot of mixed reactions, and rightfully so, I'd say, because how do you do the Prime of combination at a Voyager price? Well, the answer is like this, and it still has a lot of people feeling mixed. I really want to talk about the combining thing and how I both do and don't like it, but to make sure this video has some semblance of, well, flow, I'm gonna do that later. Nexus Prime here looks like, well, yeah, he does look like a generic run-of-the-mill robot with the colors of, and his blah, 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 that's English words, wow. With the colors of his Energon combiner looking dude and heavily inspired by his TF1 design. I do like the way that this looks. The base figure does appear nice to me. I like all the details in these colors. You can't really go wrong with red and blue. I also enjoy the gray they chose. It's like they put a drop of blue in the gray to make it look a wee bit darker, but with some flair to it. It pairs very well with the other colors. He has bits of Enigma looking detail on his chest and legs because, well, he does come with the Enigma of combination and they're gonna build an army of combiners. God, that show was a thing. Unfortunately, my figure suffers from a loose hip. It is quite loosey-goosey. Oh, damn. The geese are coming back now, aren't they? Cobra chickens. He still stands pretty fine, but in some poses, he can do the splits and fall over, which is a wee bit pain. Plastic has a pleasant sheen to it and feels very nice. It reminds me a bit of the plastic on Silverbolt. Oh, that will become relevant later, don't worry. But in hand, it feels pretty fine. I'm getting a phone call. He doesn't really have anything interesting in terms of accessories, and what I mean by that is he looks naked without his wings, but they're his only weapons. He can hold them as guns, but I wish there was just one more thing so that you could keep the wings on his back. Maybe a gun similar to the one that he had in the Transformers 1 film, and his shield. Apparently the idea was tossed around of doing him as a leader, which I think would have been a better option, but as just a Voyager, ignoring the combination part, this thing is pretty nice, and his articulation is very solid too.
Surprisingly, for a man made entirely of what is essentially just rectangles, he can do quite a lot of stuff, and there's like nothing that gets in its own way, which is really nice to see, because I got Liege before I got this guy, and Liege Maximo is really fun. He's a lot better than this to me, but there are some articulation like things, like bits of armor that get in the way. This guy doesn't have any of that, which is awesome. So the head is on a ball joint. You can get a little bit of tilt. You get not that much up and a little bit of down, but if you want to get even more down, you can pull it a little bit. The plate does move ever so slightly, so you can get that much down if you want, and the head can do a full 360 degrees. The wing flaps, they can move out of the way. The shoulders can rotate a full 360. They can go out that far. You do have a bicep rotation. You do have a single jointed elbow that bends just like a hair under 90 degrees. It's not super noticeable, but it is under 90. And then he does have a wrist joint. This piece right here, so you can unpeg it to get a backwards butterfly joint, or if you want to unpeg the torso just a little bit here, you can pull this section out to give him a butterfly joint. So it is a bit of a hassle to get that out, but you can unhinge that, and then that'll allow a butterfly joint about that far forward, which is pretty cool. It's like 86 Prime kind of, where you have to unlock it, but it is there. He does have a waist joint. Now, two of my friends got one of these. They got one of these before I did, and both of their figures out of the box slid in half because whoever assembled it at the factory just didn't click the waist in properly. So, you know, just make sure your waist is clicked in all the way. But yeah, he does have a waist joint. The hips, they can go forward that far. They can go back that far. He can do a full split. So you do have thigh rotation. This hip is a little loose. You do get 90 degrees of bend at the knee. And then the ankles are interesting. He has his ankle tilt, right? But then there's all these joints in here for the transformation and for the combine mode. So he technically does have a toe bend. So you can give him a toe bend if you want. So he's really articulated. And I like that. I like that a lot.
It's a cool robot mode, even if you want to like use it as a generic bot to fill out a scene or an army builder shelf or something. And even with the rest of the primes, it's a pretty damn good figure, and this fits this lineup. I love the way these all look together. The alt mode though disappointed a lot of people, myself included a little bit. The transformation itself is fine, but the end result is a bit weird. No, you're a bit weird. Oh.
So let's turn him into what I've essentially just started calling the big square, because it's just a big square with wings. So the first thing you want to do is you want to take his guns off and put them off to the side. Then we're going to rotate the fists around 90 degrees so that the side of the wrist is facing forward, so that they're hidden away. Then we're going to come to the legs here. We're going to fold these panels forward and they're going to snap into place at the front of the legs to fill them out. But then what we're going to do is come to the back here, open this section up and pull this black section down, fold the head in. Now, I have seen a couple people chip the head. So the head is entirely painted at the front. It is like metallic-y red. And I've seen some people like scratch it slightly, so there is a cavity his head goes in. And what I've found is best is if you fold the head back, but then make sure on the ball joint that it's pushed back as far as it can go. And we're just gonna bring the arms out because you need to bring them out too. And then you fold this section down. It doesn't rub against the red part at all. It sort of just sits pretty nicely in there. So that's how I found to not chip it. It works for me. You wanna rotate the waist 180 degrees. Then we're going to fold the cockpit forward. It's going to clip into place. You want to take the legs and you want to rotate them like that so the gap is facing up. You rotate the hips 180 degrees and then the thigh swivels 180 degrees and then bring the legs up and they're going to peg into the sides there and there. You take the arms and you bring them down. They're going to fit into those gaps and clip the entire assembly together. Then you take the forearms and you rotate them so these two pegs are facing out, and then the feet are going to come around and peg into those two pegs to hold everything together. This is really satisfying to get all of that like straightened out, even if it does look a bit stupid. Then you take the wings and you peg them into the tops of the feet, and there you have the big square. It is just a square jet thing.
It's a big square jet. It's so square. It looks like a torso. Oh yeah, you're gonna rush into that? No, put it away. Torso later, jet first. It's got a cockpit and some wings. So yes, it's a shape that can fly. I'm not an engineer, nor am I a physicist. I barely passed grade 12 physics, but I don't think this could actually get off the ground, let alone stay airborne. It's an all right looking alt mode. Not a lot of jet specific details here other than the cockpit. Wow. Other than the cockpit section, there we go, which looks nice, especially when you slap the Enigma on there and it looks like extra front wings, and we all know I like my extra front wings. That movie was on TV the other day while I was at my grandparents' house, and my grandfather and I sat through the whole thing. Still a piece of shit movie. I do find it funny how the crotch is just out there for everyone to see. There is no landing gear, just some molded in nubs. It is solid though. Everything clamps down pretty well and locks the whole thing together. That's really it for the jet though. It's a bit underwhelming, but not horrible. There are fan modes I've seen of this out there that look way better, but as an official jet, it's not the worst. All right, combining time. So this has been confirmed to be getting limbs in 2027 by Mark, and while we don't know how this is gonna work frame-wise, he is compatible with Superion's frame. The transformation into combine mode isn't in the instructions of the figure, nor is it on the box. Like, it's not mentioned at all, like sideways in his headmaster stuff. That's a bit weird, but I guess whenever this gets the rest of the combined bits, there will be instructions in there, because right now all we have to go on is one photo from Mark. And here he is, all combined. Now don't worry, I will actually show you how this works.
So the best way to start the combine mode is in jet mode, because there's not a lot that has to be changed, whereas in robot mode you kind of just got to get into jet mode anyway. So we'll start with taking the guns off. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the feet and you're going to unpeg them from the arms, and you're going to bring the arms forward. You want to take the feet and bend them at this hinge, the toe hinge, bring that down, and then these will come to the side here and tab into these tabs on the legs, and that'll keep this whole thing secured, because otherwise it'll just do this, right? With the arm on it, it'll just come out. So this will hold that into place along with the arms, but we'll do the arms in a second. So you bend the toe, no, you stupid dumb mother, there you go. You bend the toes out, you clip all that together. Then you bring the arms forward and they're going to accordion like this so that the shoulders are facing out. So you do that on both sides, rotate these up. Now we're going to bring this section down and then fold this up, and that's going to reveal the head. Then you want to rotate these 90 degrees so that these ports are facing out, and they're going to tab into the shoulders. There's a port and a peg, and that's your torso, sort of. There are these gaps. They get covered by the wings. So you put the wings on this side here and this side here. Now there's your Nexus Prime torso. So if we bring in the legs of Superion, there are these two little teeth holes, right? You want to, well, first of all, Superion's torso is normally this way, but for Nexus, you want it this way. So you got these those two holes down here that you're going to, whoops, peg into the crotch section. Then you bring this flap up, that'll peg into the 5mm port. And then here, these two squares down here, and these tabs are going to go into these squares and these slots here, and it will just snap everything into place, and that's your torso connected. And then in similar Superion, Minosaur, and most likely Bruticus fashion, you take the shoulders and you just slide them on. They're going to click into place, and that is your torso.
I really wish this was a leader and not a Voyager, because it would have allowed them more budget room and to add bits to fill in the torso mode, because I don't think it's a terrible torso, but it feels really empty. Who knows, maybe whatever frame he's gonna get, if he does get a new frame, that'll have like a new chest piece that fills this in. That being said though, this feels really purpose built to only fit Superion because of all the pegs and ports on the back of the figure. Like the frame even plugs into the jet mode sort of, but it looks a bit jank honestly. As a torso for Superion, it looks fine. Like I don't like how empty the chest feels, but that's honestly my only complaint. The rest of it is pretty much neat. It holds all the pieces well enough. Nothing wants to unpeg when moving the arms around or moving like the torso waist joint, which is good. I thought the legs wouldn't be able to hold the shoulders on, but there's enough tabs in there to keep everything in place. And I like the Covenant-esque head. Yo, Hasbro, can we get a reprint of that book, please? I have one, so I'm fine, but I know there are a lot of people out there who want one, and it's like so expensive. But this works well as a torso. What I'm not a big fan of is how they're selling you this thing. All right, let's bust out the marketing degree for a second and put on the business hat for this. Bear with me. This is gonna be a tiny bit of a yap fest, but this guy is Nexus Prime. If you are a little Timmy, new to the brand, or just a casual enjoyer of the franchise, who the fuck is Nexus Prime? Right? You don't know who he is. We as hardcore fans do, but he hasn't really done a lot for the franchise outside of some writing material and being the guy who dies like this in a movie without ever getting his name mentioned. At least I don't think they mention his name in the movie. But with the fact that most people buying Transformers might not know who this guy is, it doesn't make a lot of sense for a company to make a big expensive toy of essentially a nobody, even though they have done that before. Looking at a lot of the commanders we've gotten so far, a lot of them are recognizable enough to most, have cool big ticket selling modes, or are just friggin' Optimus Prime. Magmatron can be an exception to this because he fits in that same boat in the sense of who the hell is Magmatron, but he is 3 dinosaurs. Yes, I know 2 of them aren't actually dinosaurs. He would probably do well in that regard because kids love dinosaurs. This though, blue and red plain man with what would be a trailer if he came with a frame, who has no companion pieces right now. As a commander, I don't think it would have made financial sense for Hasbro to do it that way. I would have loved them to do it that way, and I feel like if they just showed off the whole thing at once, you would be able to sell Nexus as a big guy by himself, but this is how they did it. And that also rules Titan out of the question because he would have been even more expensive for us to buy. Now, these could very well not be the reasons. I don't know why they ultimately went down this path. I'm just coming to this conclusion based on the knowledge I have and the outside information available to me. They did say they were thinking of doing him as a duocon, and honestly, I would have preferred that. But I think they thought this would be the best way to do this guy and ensure they make money off of it while also doing the combining thing. But for right now, to take advantage of the character's main function, you have to at least go out and spend 125 Canadian dollars on Silverbolt, who is hitting the end of his shelf life as Onslaught releases in the next few months. That is a lot to spend on what is essentially a mediocre combiner torso in this state. And it being purpose-built for Superion, it doesn't fit Minosaur. I think that might be because Minosaur started development a long time ago, probably way before they even decided they were gonna do the first 13 Prime. But it also would have made sense if the torsos were as swappable as the limbs, and so far Superion and Minosaur can't swap their torso bots very well, and like I said, from what I understand, Nexus doesn't fit Minosaur. I don't have a Minosaur at the moment. I pre-ordered the G2 one. Only time will tell if this fits Onslaught because he ain't gonna be out for another few months, but I hope he does. If this guy could act as like a swappable torso for all combiners like a Headmaster could between different Headmaster robots, that would be sick, but right now he can only just fit in Silverbolt and nothing else. All that yapping just to say this gimmick doesn't feel as realized as I would have liked for Nexus. Again, if he had been a leader budget, I think they would have been able to at least pull off a cleaner looking torso and maybe played around with the cross compatibility more. Nexus himself as a figure I think is pretty fine. The robot's great, the transformation's solid, the alt mode is a bit but it's still fine. It just, the way they approach the combine mode to me is strange. I can't really tell whether or not I like the way they're doing the combine mode, but I probably will once he gets all of his limbs and stuff. I would recommend this guy to anyone to give him to the rest of your primes or as a generic army guy. As like a solid by himself figure, he's good. But that's been my look at Nexus Prime. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.